All right, this is the Lead Pedal Podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge. This is episode number 199, and we have, folks, I hope you're ready. We have a very special guest in the studio today. We got the dog. Now, you guys have heard Chris on here before. He's been on a few episodes here in the past, but he is going to do some co-hosting duties. So let's just take a break, and when we come back, we're going to see what the dog has to say. We're going to talk CVORs today, so stay tuned. That doesn't have a mic, so the sound's actually going to be through here. So anyway, welcome to... Oh, I didn't press this button. Ready? We're going to go. Who's more nervous, you or me? All right, everybody. Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast. I have with me in the studio, Mr. What's your name again? Safety Dog, Chris Harris.
Dog.
Folks, this is a little weird for both Chris and I. Chris does a ton of videos, as you know. I do a lot of videos, but it's funny when you're not kind of set up for the videos, even though we're set up for the videos. So this is the first time that we're doing the podcast and videoing at the same time. So
it's all exciting.
So I'm going to try and move so that you can see me and I don't feel like I'm talking to the screen. Everybody's patient with us because they know me. So tell me, what's going on, Chris? What's going on in Safety Dog's world? You got some new stuff going on? What's going on?
A lot of stuff and not a lot of stuff. I was fortunate several months ago, for some reason, I did a search to see who in the heck owned CVOR.ca as a website.
Yeah.
And nobody.
So, and then now you do, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I got that one, I went, holy God, I don't know how I'm going to be able to make some money on this and be of service to people, but CVOR.ca has to do something for me. So I've been developing that new website, and if any of the listeners have suggestions as to what they would like to see on CVOR.ca, send it in, because that would be awesome. I'd love to be of service.
Where should they send that to? What? Don't send it to me. Send it to Chris.
They don't want to... See, I thought they'd send it to you.
They can send it to me, and I will forward it on to Chris. But since you're on video and online, where should they send it to?
Well, you can send it to Chris at CVOR.ca.
There you go. The guy's got the whole program. Are you the ministry now, or?
Well, it is not the ministry's website, but I was really surprised that they didn't own that.
Yeah.
So I got to develop it, got to be of service, and I really want to know what to put on the site, how I can help people with the CVOR.
So you're really focused on CVOR, which is commercial vehicle operators record, right? Depending on who you talk to. Depending on where you are.
says the R is registration.
Registration. Okay, I've seen record, registration. Yeah, I guess it could be registration.
And the confusing part for a lot of people is, in Ontario at least, truck drivers have a CVOR.
Yeah.
And that's their own personal driving record for commercial vehicles.
Right.
And it's the same acronym and it's the same words. Right. And then every company has a license called the CVOR. And that's what it is. So
right. So before we get into that, so tell us why you started. So Safety Dog does what? You do safety training, you do compliance. What else you do?
I do management training a lot.
Management training. Well, there's a lot of them that need it too, and I'm not talking CVOR, but I will leave that alone.
I'm blessed that most of my work comes through the insurance brokers.
Right.
They get me in to see accounts that are typically, unfortunately, in trouble.
Okay.
They are facing tough insurance renewals. They are being audited by MTO or being audited by DOT. Anyways, the broker gets me in and says, Chris, can you help this client out, or else they're not going to be in business much longer.
Oh, yeah.
And so I go in there and I train management. I set up structure. It's usually the safety department lacks like a formal structure.
You know, that what always kind of strike me as odd is the safety of the company is probably the most important thing. You know, that will shut you down in a hurry. I'm always amazed at how many companies don't see that as having that everything should be around the safety department, but it's not. Right?
Well, it's not. Most companies are more fearful of MTO coming in and shutting them down. In reality, the insurance industry shuts more companies down than the MTO does. So they should be more afraid, afraid isn't the right word. They should be more concerned with that insurance safety person that comes into the office, and they're great people, and all the insurance safety people that I know truly have the trucking company's best interest at heart. But if that trucking company fails to listen, then they have to do what their employer tells them to do, and they've got to take action.
And the culture comes from the top down, right?
Always. Absolutely, always. You know it. The boss, the president, every company gets exactly what they're designed to get.
And I find that because people don't see safety, like safety people can send stuff out. They can, be out doing ride-alongs with their drivers, all of that. But you don't see anything. Like at the end of the day, other than maybe a piece of paper, there's nothing for the management to say, that safety person's working hard. They might be out there promoting safety, doing what they're supposed to be doing, but management doesn't see that. So I see that they fill their jobs with other things. They send them to the licensing office. They have them doing recruiting. They have them, attending events that are, maybe or may not be part of their role. And so they're not really doing a lot of safety. They're considered the safety person, but they're really the recruiting person or the receptionist, or I've seen it from the garage mechanic, whatever it is.
You're absolutely right. A lot of what they call safety departments are truthfully compliance departments. And you can be compliant, you can have every piece of paper in the driver file that's required, but you're not safe.
That's right.
There's a huge difference. So one of the things I like to do is I have a monthly safety report. How many people have you hired this month? How many people have you terminated this month? Where's the level 2 CVOR threshold at? If you're run to the States, what are the SMS basics at? What's your loss run looking like? Has anybody looked at it? What are the loss run ratios for the insurance company? What's your frequency accident rate? What's your million mile per accident rate? All these things should be calculated on a regular basis, monitored, because, if you don't measure it,
you can't manage it.
So, and you're right, a lot of safety departments don't do any of that.
That's right. And that's we both have programs that help in that area. You've got your CVOR training and your driver files. Do you have that's under safetydog.com, or is that under your CVOR?
The driver files is in development.
Okay. But you've been doing that since the beginning. That actually is what launched you off. It's just you're revising all of that, right?
Well, the driver files, that's something I've been able to do on site. What I'm working on now is an online course that you could take. It hasn't launched, but it's coming. Looking for people to help and stuff.
It's good that you're telling us on a podcast, because now the accountability factor just went up by 100. It will be out soon, folks. I won't give you a date. I won't mention a date because it'll put Chris under some pressure, but
it has to get out soon. I really think. One of the things, and you've had this, I'm sure. You go in to see somebody and they go, "Oh my God, Bruce, where did you learn that?" And there's no place that you and I can go and learn safety stuff.
That's right.
And I had that question asked of me a lot, and that was my motivation for starting Safety Dog. I mean, I do my consulting and everything right now. That pays the bills. But long term, I want to get some of this stuff online so that people can take an online course and learn what you and I know. Let's teach other people.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a good job at that. So Safety Dog is we are in Burlington, Ontario, at our studios here in Burlington, Ontario. I just wanted to say it that way. So, but you're in Hamilton, I'm Burlington. So you go outside of Ontario or stay within Ontario, or?
I'm in Windsor tomorrow.
Okay.
I've been for work. I've been as far as Germany.
Wow. That's right. You were over there.
Yeah, that was a quick trip, but I've been to Germany. I do go to the States I've got 2 American clients that ask me to go down from time to time down there and do work for them. Because, as you know, the safety is truly trucking safety. It's one topic. It doesn't matter what country you're in.
That's right.
Compliance can be different a little bit, but the DOT rules. got enough customers that cross the border as well.
Yeah.
You and I have to know both countries' compliance rules.
Almost more U.S. some days than Canada, depending on the companies, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, back in the old days, if you remember Barry Montague of the Ontario Trucking Association, I asked Barry, I said, what percentage of OTA members go to the States? He said, about 80%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From Toronto here, it's 80, probably 90, I'm going to say, because everybody runs. Even if you run to Buffalo. See, people don't, they view the states that you have to be going to Texas, but you actually don't have to be going to Buffalo or Rochester, and you are a U.S. client.
Yeah.
So.
And we have a lot of customers or a lot of trucking companies that just cross into Buffalo, Rochester, and that's as far as they go.
That's as far as you need to go some days. So we decided to get you back on. You've been on the podcast a few times, right? So you're not new to this whole. You've got your own video series going, so you're not uncomfortable being behind the mic. But we thought this would be a good way to bring you on. You'll be on a few times through the year in different. So we're doing double episodes. This is going to be a special. So this one's a kind of a CVOR basic episodes. And we're going to have one every week. So it's going to come out every week along with our regular episodes that come out. And then we're going to do something else, and then we'll bring you back on again. So people are going to see you as a semi-regular guest.
I must have done something right.
until he makes me totally upset, and then we're just going to throw him out the window. Anyway, just so you know that Chris is here for the free lunch. No. You wait till you see the peanut butter sandwich I made. You're going to love it. No.
And when he says window, we are on the 7th floor.
We are.
It hurts.
It hurts. Apparently, my wife Carmen says it's not high enough, but actually that's too damaged. I need to go to the 15th floor. But, so we are going to do CVOR basics. So we're going to start out today with the very, very basics of CVOR, because people throw around that acronym. Look, you and I just did it. Is it registration or is it record? I've heard both.
Yeah.
I don't really think of it. I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about CVOR, but I don't, any ministry or government saying kind of gets...
Well, I used to think CVOR for the driver and CVOR for the company, the acronym was the same acronym but different wording.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's the same words.
I know. But it depends. And like you mentioned already that, if we're talking to somebody wanting to register for a CVOR from a company standpoint, that's different than when I'm talking to a lot of drivers in a safety meeting and we're talking about the CVOR record, which is why I call it record, because it's tracking what they've done as far as non-moving violations, that kind of thing.
As soon as a truck driver gets a commercial license, either a D, their A, and here's my ignorance, does a bus license, if you're driving a school bus, would qualify? So any commercial vehicle, you automatically get enrolled and you will have a CVOR.
Yeah.
But a company has to pay money, and they got to pay $250. They got to fill out an application form. They have to have insurance, and then they have to pass a written test, and then they can get a CVOR license.
Yeah. So here's where I see, and here's what, since I work with a lot of the training schools, I know you do too, but I might work with them more than you do. You work more with the company safety part. When I get into the schools, they do not realize they get their own CVOR. And the first thing they're asking me, even though we're teaching them, even though it's on my PowerPoint, they're saying, what is a CVOR? Because there's nothing for them to do. They don't have to go take a test in the CVOR. They just go get their Class A license or Class B or CDL1, whatever country you're in at the time, and all of a sudden they've got one. They don't understand how they've got one. As soon as they get hired, they've got one, So when they go on, so they'll see all kinds of stuff. Let's say they work for a Challenger Motor Freight. They will see stuff from Challenger and they'll go, I didn't even know that was there. So I think it's that awareness of knowing it's there.
Well, there's that. Ontario, and as far as I know, Alberta is the only other province that has a separate record for commercial events, I'll call them. Because on the CVOR for a driver, an inspection at the scale shows up. And whether it's a clean inspection or an inspection with violations, it's going to show.
Right.
So
I guess probably the best thing to do is to break this down from either a company standpoint or a driver standpoint, because we're just going to confuse them even more.
Yeah.
We're already confused. We're in the same room, so
And it is confusing.
It is confusing. So let's start with probably where you're more prone to be, is in with the company. So if somebody starts up a trucking company, and we're not going to talk owner operators. We'll talk owner operators more in a future episode, but let's just talk from a company. So, and it could be a towing company, it could be a landscaping company, anybody that moves into that threshold of being over a certain amount of weight. Right?
And road builders are now included.
Yeah.
Some of the road building machines are now included in CVR.
Yeah.
So
I had a guy at my gym. It's funny. I was just going to tell you a story before we start. I had a guy at my gym, and I've given him your card. We're at the gym now. He's not a truck driver. He knows he knows I go away too. But he says, I'm thinking. He says, you're in transportation. He's lifting 100 million pounds, and I'm lifting like 10 pounds on the barbell because I'm a real bench presser. So he says, you're in transportation. I said, yeah. He says, and he has a company that just like a handyman style company, contractor, right? And he just has his pickup right now. And it's a big pickup. But he says, I also have a trailer, and I now want to go buy a Bobcat. And he's going, do I need a CVR? You should know that. I said, yeah. I said, you will, depending on the weight. You might be, if you have the trailer with no Bobcat, you might be fine. But as soon as you put the Bobcat on that trailer, you now may need a CVR depending on what you're doing. So I gave him your card. He's going to call you hopefully down the road when he decides whether he's buying a Bobcat or not. But I said my friend at Safety Dog would be able to help you more because that's what he does. But it's that part where, and especially around here, they're catching a lot of people. They're doing a lot of inspections on these landscapers and stuff who do not realize that they need a CVOR. So when does somebody need a CVOR? Let's start there.
Register your vehicle for more than 4,500 kg.
Okay, so now most pickup trucks, depending on the size of the pickup truck, most pickup trucks are automatically registered as commercial with a personal use exemption, I think, right? I don't have a pickup truck, but I understand that. That's that black plate that they have on. So at what point do they need, because it's registered commercial, do they already have a CVOR?
No.
Okay.
Because in most cases, certainly a small pickup truck is not going to be registered for 4,500 or more kilograms. Right. It's when you get higher than that, and you can often get higher just by, as you said, put a trailer and a Bobcat on it, and maybe it's a 1-ton pickup truck, and you've got it. Now you've registered it, and a lot of people don't take the next step to get their CVR. I was talking just last week to a tow truck company, just one tow truck and a body shop. Yeah. His tow truck's off the road right now, which is why they're talking to me, because he never knew. I didn't know I had to have a CVR, and I don't know what the fine was. But
I can tell you it's more than the amount to go and get one.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that, because the ministry doesn't do it any other way. Right? Yeah. So it's until you, even if you're registered commercial, but maybe using your truck as personal use, once you get over that 4,500 kg limit is when you are automatically need a CVR, right?
Right.
Okay, so then what is the process for someone to go get a CVR?
Besides being a pain,
call Safety Dog. That's who we do. Call CVR.ca.
In truth, I don't even think you need, at this point, you don't need Safety Dog, quite honestly. You go online, there is an application form to be processed. You fill out the application form. It, like you, I use a Mac, and it doesn't like the Mac. It doesn't like Safari, and it doesn't like Chrome. I always have to open the application form up in Firefox with a certain extension. Pain in the ass.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I forget the extension because it's one of the Adobe. Right. It might be Flash that it requires, something. One of those things, and I hate it. Yeah. I don't have it on my computer, so I do it a different way to protect my computer. Right. So you fill out the application form, and you must have proof of financial responsibility. In other words, you got to have insurance. Right. Now, if I can say one thing about insurance to all your listeners, make sure that you're using a trucking insurance specialist insurance broker.
Right.
The fellow that writes your house insurance or the girl that writes the house insurance, she may be wonderful at house insurance and know a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
But when it comes to commercial vehicles, you really need a specialist. And unfortunately, because of my background in insurance, I've seen some disasters when they don't have the right coverage in place. So
that's a tip for everybody getting, and I don't care if you're just starting an art business. I found that out the hard way. When I decided to start my business, we only had home insurance, of course, and I said, well, okay, I need to get commercial insurance. And so we started the business, and then I sent the documents to my insurance provider at the time and said, I need commercial insurance. They said, we don't do commercial insurance, and by the way, your policy is no longer valid, and shut down within like 15 days or something like that. And so I had to scramble to get another insurance company because I didn't understand. I thought everybody offered that, right? So it's really important to check that out with people, and not everybody does that. So if you're getting in the trucking industry, like you say, go to trucking. Now, you probably have a whole ton. I know I have a network. I think we have probably the same network, but people can reach out to you and you'd be happy to forward it.
Well, and it's just like anything else too, Bruce. I think you and I both know the quality trucking insurance specialists. We know of the other trucking insurance specialists. It doesn't matter which industry you're in, whether it's in the podcast industry, the trucking industry, the artist industry. There's the good and the bad in each industry. And to be successful, you've got to deal with the good all the time. And that's why we have a great relationship, right? Because quality people stick together. So does a riffraff. I'm not going to tell you which one we are, but
I've been known to be the riffraff at times, but not for what I do anyway. But and there's lots of insurance people. I've interviewed many of them on the show, so there's lots of insurance people on the show if you need those episodes. So we now, if someone is over the 4,500 but not getting into business, do they need a CVR, or do you automatically need a CVR? If you're not starting a business but you are over that threshold. I put him on the spot.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking if you guys...
You're on video, you see him right now wandering.
Smoke. I don't know. If you're not in business, do you need a CV? Do you know the answer?
I think the answer is yes, but I'm not... We need to probably find that out. Here's the scenario that came up why I brought that up. The one you probably heard about the guy in Nova Scotia, I think. Did you hear about that guy?
No.
He was hauling his Bobcat, but not for business, for personal. So he was a truck driver. He had his own pickup truck, his own trailer. He's hauling a Bobcat, I think, from Ontario to Halifax or New Brunswick somewhere. It's his own Bobcat. He's taking it to work. Friends put it in a pool and close the way he can get there again.
Everybody owns a Bobcat for their hobby, right?
Well, some of these guys, I don't know how he got the Bobcat, or I don't know if he just rented it. I don't know how that worked, but he was not, it's not a Bobcat business. It's not what he was doing. He was actually a truck driver regularly for a company, and he drove and he got stopped at the scale in New Brunswick, and they gave him a fine for not having the CVR.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you're over the threshold, I don't know how people get away with it. I guess these camper trailers are so light that they don't fall under the 4,500.
And that's what I was thinking, but absolutely. And I'll check on this, but I believe you're right, that anything over 4,500, because of the new type of danger it is on the road, it's a hazard. And if you aren't properly trained on its hazards and made aware of the risk, then you could act inappropriately. And those fifth wheel trailers,
they got to be really light. They must be only about $3,000 or something. Right?
Yeah.
What's a car? If you're a car or a light truck must be about 2,000 pounds. So those trailers got to be under 2,000, which seems very hard compared the size of them and the stuff that's in them.
Well, don't forget 4,500 kgs. What?
It's not okay. So that's 10,000 pounds, right? So so let's say so you could be under. Although I think there should be some kind of a course for people that drive camper trailers, because I know they're actually worse than I'd rather run a 53 footer.
Well, and I tell you, getting off the CBR thing, that's one of the things I talk to drivers about in spring and fall. is, I mean, you're not old yet, but
I'm old enough. Old enough.
That, there's a lot of people my age that twice a year they pull a fifth wheel camper trailer.
Yeah.
They pull it this time of the year. They pull it down to Florida, and in the springtime they pull it back.
And they're super truckers. They just go for 24 hours, and they brag about it, how cool they got to.
And they don't understand the risk on the road, and the truck driver, the commercial driver driving around them. That's a unique risk because this person isn't used to pulling that type of trailer with that length. Right. They may or may not know where in the hell they're going. And they may be distracted because they're usually not by themselves. They may have their pet in the vehicle with them. They may have their wife. The wife may have her husband. They may be talking. They may be going through a divorce.
It's a whole other show, Chris. I don't do that on this podcast, but I can recommend a few for you.
But you know what I mean? That's a whole different distracted driving.
Yeah.
Anyways, and did you hear Kerry Schmidt this morning?
No.
Collisions are up 7% now in Ontario, and Kerry Schmidt's OPP, by the way.
Yeah, he's been on the show. So for those of you who may not know, Kerry Schmidt is the I don't know his regular title, media relations guy or something for the OPP, which is the Ontario Provincial Police. And he used to be a truck driver at one time, and so he's been on the show. He's very involved with the trucking industry, and he's a really good guy. I got to say, I've dealt with Kerry many times, not on arrest, always in a positive note, but no, he's a really good guy, so he certainly knows his stuff for sure.
Yeah, and he says the main cause of this, and we're not talking commercial vehicle crashes, but it's driver distraction.
Yeah. Well, I would be distracted if I took pictures of all the people I see being distracted. So I try not to use that.
That's what video camera or dash cams are for.
Yeah, I don't have a dash cam in my car, but I probably should. But that's a whole other episode as well. Okay, so somebody needs to have this training. So now what happens when they decide they need to have it? Whether the whole idea of whether you're in business or not can stay there, but how often, what do they need to do now?
Okay, so they've got their insurance, their proof of financial responsibility, which is insurance. They fill out the application form, they mail it away or submit it, and then weeks later they get told to go write a test at one of the drive test facilities. So you've paid, by the way, $250 to apply for your CVR. Yep. Then you go in and write the test, and I believe the test is $32.
Yep.
It has, I'm told, 30 questions, and those 30 questions come from a bank of 300 questions.
Nice.
Yeah. And I asked the government...
You're paying $1 per question. You figure that.
The government said I couldn't have a copy of all the questions.
No, because they don't want you giving that out because you'd be a very popular person.
Well, and here's the thing, and that's why I asked, because I thought, why wouldn't they want me to have it? Because as long as the person who goes in to write the test has the knowledge, who cares how they attain the knowledge, right? As long as they've got the knowledge to be a better trucking company. But I guess the government doesn't see it that way. They encourage people, perhaps. Encourage isn't the right word, but they let people write the test. Some pass, some fail. Apparently a lot fail.
Yeah, they want you to read the book, and most people don't read the book.
Well, that book is 300 pages.
Yeah. Well, there's 300 possible questions, so that's a page question.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay how much for the book? It's probably $32 as well.
Well, no, the book's free.
Oh,
and actually,
that's unusual for a government.
I will send the link to you so you can include that in the show notes for anybody that wants that piece of information. It's published by MTO. It is the book that they say to read in preparation for the test. It's how to run a CVR company.
Okay.
It includes pieces on driver files, maintenance files, what happens during an audit.
I know a guy who does that.
Yeah. And why do people hire you and I?
I'm not sure why they hire me. They probably hire you because you know what I'm talking.
Because they didn't read the 300-page book.
That's right. That's right.
And then they didn't read the 300-page book, but they also didn't implement a step-by-step piece from it. You know, I mean, it tells you for Ontario what has to be in a driver file. And they tell you which pieces of the driver file might be included in a facility audit. Well, it's all broken out in this. It's called safety manual.
Okay.
Commercial Vehicle Operator Safety Manual.
I'll make sure I get that in the show notes for people. Very cool. So, okay, so they take that, they go, and so they got to take this test now. Who has to take the test? Because I've heard of people who are not actually the people who should be taking the test, taking the test.
And I forget exactly how the CVOR people word it, but they want the owner to take the test. So in the case of an incorporation, I believe you have to be one of the directors to actually write the test.
Oh, okay. And how do they check that? Is there a director's card? Business card?
I think it's just a sworn
I got a
document.
dog that's classified as the office manager here. I don't have a dog, folks, just so you know. But I could get one.
I don't know how they check it.
Okay. So I'm taking in a business card from somebody else.
You may have to take in your incorporation papers,
Oh, possible.
right?
That would make sense. Although I don't walk around with those a lot. I mean, I incorporated back in 2009, and they've been, other than when I go see my friendly neighborhood lawyer to update minutes and that kind of thing, I don't really do much.
Yeah.
To be honest. So I don't think people are walking around. Okay, so it has to be somebody that's verified from the company that's either a director or in a place where they should do. Okay, so then, and then what happens? So then they just get it after that, or because there's a fee for that, and so there's a fee for. So we're up to, how much are we up to now? With
$250 plus, if you write the test just once, $32.
Right.
So that's $282.
And so do they have to, once they write the test, do they have to show that how do they show the compliance? Is this down the road or?
Yeah, once they've written the test successfully, then they do get their CBOR license. And after that, you really don't have to show compliance until the MTO comes knocking on the door.
Oh, which is 6 months, a year, or 25 years? Depends on your record.
Depends on your record. And that's going to be a different podcast when MTO tends to come knocking, because and this is where people need to understand how to read that level 2 CVOR, which is a company license. And because you can predict when MTO is going to come walking in. There are what they have called intervention thresholds.
You probably know that just by the fines that you've gotten over that. Like, they don't, unless you've gotten the fines, they're not coming to your door. So you probably already have a number of tickets. So tell us about the different levels. Because you just mentioned that. Like, is there there's a CVOR 2 and a CVOR 1? Is that for the drivers? Or?
No, this is company CVOR. Level 1, anybody can get a level 1. So if you have a company that you were looking to go work for instance, you could pull their level 1 CVOR.
Okay, so that's just the report you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's basically the first 2 pages. It tells you the basic information. It doesn't give you all the detail. Insurance companies, shippers, and insurance brokers, who else wants a full detail level 2?
Anybody that's hiring drivers usually wants the bigger version, right?
Well, okay, that's the driver's one. This is still, I'm talking about the company one. In a court action, the opposing lawyers will want your full level 2.
By then you already know you're in trouble.
Yeah. But so to get back to your question, for companies, there are the thresholds. And this gets a little complicated, but the overall violation rate threshold, that's one line on this CVOR. If you get above 35%, you're going to get a warning letter for the company. At 50%, you go on the list of, geez, you might get audited. At, I want to say 80%, where does your rating change?
In the States,
70.
In the States, isn't it 70? Well, we're talking SMS, it's 75 or 79.
Yeah. It depends on which basic you're talking about there.
We'll get into that on another episode too.
I want to say it's 70%, and I didn't check this before I came in, your rating changes from unsatisfactory to conditional. And then at 100%, that's where you get, and I've been to these ones, you've probably been down there to the ministry in St. Catharines. When you get over 100%, you get a nice letter being asked to come down to St. Catharines. They call it a show cause hearing, and basically you have to explain to a panel and show cause why you should stay in business and why they shouldn't take further what they call interventions with you, which could be pulling plates, full company suspension. One client that I know, they were shut down for 7 days.
Wow. All right. Well, listen,
I shouldn't say they're a client, but that's the truth.
They were a client after they got.
No, they were a client before, but they failed to listen.
There's one of those key points that you keep throwing in the episodes. You're right. Listening.
They have to. You and I know what the heck we're doing, and if we tell a client, "Hey, you really need to do this, this, and this," and I have to say, for this client, they paid the bill, and they didn't do it, and we ended up. I worked for them for about 6 months, and then about 6 months after I stopped working for them, they said, "Can you come with me?" "Oh, why? Where are we going?" "Oh, we got to go to St. Catharines for a show cause hearing." I said, "Oh, lovely.
Do you want me to bring a lawyer?"
Yeah.
We know some good paralegals in the industry as well.
So I did. I went down with them, and that's a whole different episode. What happened there?
Well, listen, I think that was a great episode. Anyway, I think we're gonna cut that off now, and then we will move on to our next part of being the next episode, because I think that's enough to get people. Any last tips? Just go to your website and take the course.
Well,
That's that second value bomb.
well, there is the course that I do have on there is how do you read your level 2 CBOR? It's not how do you get the level 2 CBOR, although I think I'm looking for feedback. If somebody would like a course on how do you get your CBOR, let me know. I think I could develop one. That might have to be a freebie, just to be of service, but if that would be of value, let me know.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for being on today. Appreciate that, and we'll catch you next time as we get into the next episode.
Yeah, it's always awesome, Bruce.
Thanks, buddy.